Okay, this is People of the State of Michigan versus Leslie Buck, docket number 20-84FH. This is the time set for sentencing, and before we go any further, Mr. Buck, would you confirm for me that you are okay with us doing this in this fashion rather than bringing you actually to the courtroom?
Yes, ma'am. I'm fine with it.
Okay, and then this is the time set for sentencing. Mr. Buck, you were convicted of illegal retaining of a financial transaction device. That is a felony punishable by up to 4 years in prison.
Can you
And
say it again, please?
yes, you were convicted of illegal retaining of a financial transaction device, a felony punishable by up to 4 years in prison. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented by Mr. Hess, who is present. And Mr. Hess, have you had a chance to review the pre-sentence report with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Do you have any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sure maybe the court received it in this form too, but I've got a sort of a pile of pieces of the pre-sentence report, so I don't know exactly where the corrections will have to be made, but just so I know.
If you tell me the section, I can probably find it.
Yeah. Crazy. I think this is on the basic information report. Mr. Buck is listed as having no occupation. In fact, he's worked in janitorial, roofing, and carpeting. And during his time in the jail since February, he's now earned his ServSafe certification. So he's also certified for working in food service. So I mean, that's a lot of occupations, but I was going to say janitorial, roofing, carpeting, and food service.
Oh, okay. I already wrote in laborer/food service. Is that okay?
Okay. I think that's fine. Just to show that Mr. Buck he's somebody who works, not a layabout.
Okay, I changed that. Anything else?
Thank you. Yes, Your Honor. This will be on the old PSI because what we received was an updated PSI, but I just wanted the court to know that I believe until he was arrested arrested, Mr. Buck was working at Bowling Janitorial, OLING, as a janitor, earning $10 an hour, part-time.
Well, at the time, up to the time he was arrested on this new charge he's being sentenced on, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, well, I don't change the old PSIs.
Okay.
Because it's a different process for that, but
right.
I am aware of that.
Okay. I have no more changes to the body, Your Honor. I do have a couple changes to the guidelines.
Okay, and what would those be?
Your Honor, I'm asking that both OV 13 and 19 be scored at 0. The reasoning that I have for OV 13, that's continuing pattern of criminal behavior. Ms. Allen pointed out to me that Mr. Buck does have, he's got enough crimes to qualify for 10 points. My only point is, and I looked in case law for this, is I don't think that Mr. Buck's crimes within the past 5 years fit what would be a pattern. They seem to be offenses that arose from definitely from poor judgment, but not from any continuous pattern of crime. So I think that it's important that the legislature use the word pattern in there. And I don't think we can infer a pattern just because there were 3 crimes within the past 5 years. So that's why I'm requesting that be scored at 0. For 19, I discussed it.
Let me just say that
yes.
That's exactly how the legislature defined pattern. It's by the sheer number and type and not by any kind of MO or intent or anything like that. So I will leave OV 13 at 10.
Okay. For 19, Your Honor, the allegation is that Mr. Buck, this was in the police report, the crime to which Mr. Buck pleaded guilty happened in somebody's house, and then later in the same evening, he was outside on the streets of East Lansing, and the police report says he ran away from the police when they're trying to arrest him, and he ended up eventually pleading guilty to disorderly conduct. They were trying to arrest him because of an assault complaint that was not related to anything having to do with the FTD. So from my perspective, that does not the obstructing justice doesn't have to do with the underlying felony that was pleaded to in this case. So I would ask that the court score OV 19 at 0 for that reason.
Ms. Allen?
Your Honor, I would disagree. I think it's properly scored. When the police arrived at the party where the defendant was and had stolen the card, he ran and fled from them, which caused them to chase him and have to apprehend him. They found the card stolen, I believe, in his sock after that. So I think OV 19, that he attempted to interfere with the administration of justice, attempted to interfere with being arrested to get caught with the financial transaction device on him. So I think it's properly scored at 10.
I would agree with that, in that it would appear that the pre-sentence report supports that as part and parcel of this offense, he attempted to interfere with the administration of justice by running from the police. And I will leave OV 19 scored at 10 points. Were those your only two objections, Mr. Hess?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Allen, did the people have any corrections to the report or objections to scoring?
No, Your Honor.
And did the people wish to be heard?
No, Your Honor.
Was there a victim who wanted to be heard?
No, Your Honor. Again, I was able to reach her right before sentencing. Actually, she did not wish to appear. She only wished to express thanks to the court and myself for still going forward with this, considering everything that's going on.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hess?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I've represented Mr. Buck a few times in the past few years. He's been one of my best clients. He always comes to court. He's very easy to get along with, and it's always perplexing to me how he always manages to find himself in trouble. But here we are again, and Mr. Buck has burned through his get out of jail free cards with HIDA, which I believe was revoked by this court. And he's about to be sentenced in this case. If the court sentences in accordance with the Killebrew agreement, Your Honor, I'm asking for a sentence. The Killebrew agreement was supposed to be concurrent and no longer than the probation violation sentence. So I did the math on that. I'm asking for Mr. Buck to be sentenced to no more than 240 days with credit for 55 days. 55 is the number of days from when he was sentenced on his probation violation. His probation violation sentence was for 365 days with credit for 125. So the time he has left today would be 240 minus 55. Mr. Buck is currently working 7 days a week in the jail kitchen. He's getting day for day earned early release. His current projected release is 14th, 2020. I would ask that the court allow Mr. Buck to earn earned early release in this case as well. I'm not sure how that works with the credit, but I would ask that Mr. Buck be given the jail credit in hopes that, because he's been a trustee the whole time, that the sheriff would also accord him earned early release. Like I said, Mr. Buck is a hard worker. He's gotten to a point where if he keeps on committing crimes, society is going to judge him very harshly. And I think if he decides to keep on committing crimes, the next step is going to be prison, because that's how these cases end up. And as I described to Mr. Buck the other day, it costs society, the state of Michigan, as much to send somebody to prison as it does to send somebody to university for a year. So that's society throwing in the towel and saying, you know, we don't know what to do with you. We're going to spend a tremendous amount of money to keep you locked up. I don't want that for Mr. Buck. Mr. Buck, he's got the work ethic. He's got the responsibility now too. He just had a child who's, I believe, a son who's 3 months old. So now he's got responsibility and he's got to step up to the plate. And it's like the key to the jailhouse doors in Mr. Buck's hand. If he keeps exercising poor judgment, then we know where he's going to end up next. And great thing about working hard is that you stay out of trouble because you expend most of your energy at work. So my wish is for Mr. Buck to be able to work hard and pay debt to society and also learn to exercise better judgment. This entire situation didn't have to happen. I understand people go to parties, people socialize, people drink, but it was a lapse in judgment that led to a cascading effect of bad events. And next time Mr. Buck's in a situation where somebody drops a debit card, for instance, the right thing to do is to pick it up and maybe just put it back on the desk, or if the person's right there, give it right back to them. And I think Mr. Buck knows that, and he's had all this time in jail to think about his mistakes. So I'm respectfully asking that the court sentence in accordance with the Killebrew agreement. And I'm hoping that this is a lesson for Mr. Buck, and that the next time I meet him, it'll just be on the street saying hello instead of as part of the justice system. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Buck, is there anything you wanted to say?
Yes, ma'am. There is a little brief things I want to say. I admit to my responsibility for my actions, and I apologize to the victim community and the courts, and to myself as well, because I disappointed myself. And I'm sure you have received my letters and have read the sincerity in them. Upon my release, I'm going to continue working at Boylan Janitorial and Corporations and use my carpeting skills to maybe find a better job in the workforce and basically to provide for my family the best way that I can possible. I've been on trustee since March 11th, so that's approximately 40 days today. And I would like to continue to have EER. Also, I have been in jail since February 4th. So, and today is April 20th. So I think that'll be actually 76 jail days credit if you decide to give me jail days credit. This experience has been extremely difficult for me and very different. Missed the birth of my son, my first son. My nephew and nieces, I talk to them on the phone. I'm tired of having to lie to them about my whereabouts. I'm just ready to grow up and just to be a different person completely. As you see at my last position, I was working, so I at least got one step forward. You know what I'm saying? Trying to do, basically be good and stay out of the way. And disappointing my family. I don't want to disappoint my family no more. I want to be what I should be. This is not the life for me. Every day coming to like in and out of jail is killing me. I have no other option but to be on a narrow path. I don't have rooms to error or anything like that. And perhaps go to college, get into college, and perhaps gain an athletic scholarship, maybe undergrad in medical chemistry and major in business and management. I'm asking Your Honor to please go with the recommendation, please. That's really it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think there is nobody who's tried harder to keep you out of prison than I have. And I say that not because I want 1 ounce of gratitude, I do not. But I want you to realize how very, very close you came to prison, and how if this had been maybe a different court, you would be in prison. The recommendation from the beginning on your case was prison. I defied the recommendation multiple times to keep you out of prison. I went below the sentencing guidelines to keep you out of prison because I can see the potential that you have. However, you know, this case didn't really start with someone dropping a financial transaction device. It started when you were given the leeway of being on YTA probation and not going to prison for a home invasion. And while you were in that situation on probation with YTA, against all recommendations, you went to a party while you were on probation. And if you don't realize that while your attorney says, well, people go to parties, no, not when they're on YTA probation on a home invasion that they should be going to prison for. They don't go to parties. And that's what you still don't seem to understand. You don't seem to understand how narrowly you missed prison, and you don't understand the behavior that caused this whole situation to occur. Can you not hear
I
me?
can like it's going in and out
Okay.
most of the time.
Well,
But I do want to state that I was on YTA not for a home invasion. It was for B&E, and that was like a while back.
yeah, a while back. Okay, well, I really am disappointed that you still don't get it. You know, a while back you were on probation and then caught this new case. So I will go along with the Killebrew agreement And I hope that you would use this time if you've squandered your other time to think about what you really want for your life, what you want for your newborn son, what kind of father you want to be. And I would suggest telling your nephews and your nieces, whatever, the truth. Tell them you screwed up. Tell them you screwed up really, really bad, and you're suffering the consequences from it. And maybe you could teach them from that. But if you aren't going to teach yourself from your behavior, then I think it's not very hopeful that you could teach others. So I'm sentencing you to 240 days in jail with credit for 55 days served. You have to pay $130 to the Crime Victims Fund, $68 cost to the county in the amount of $500 based on the state court administrative office calculated average cost of a criminal case in Ingham County, and no early tether relief. And you have the right to file an application for leave to appeal your conviction sentence in this matter. You're entitled to an attorney at public expense to assist you in doing that. Making a request for one, you have to make it within 42 days of today's date. And we will normally be handing you a form that explains more about that. We will be mailing you a form that tells more about your appellate rights. You have a question?
Yes, ma'am. I thought because I was in jail since February 4th and all the way up to today, I thought that would be credit as well. I didn't know, so I was just asking.
No, I mean, on this offense, you only really had credit for 1 day. I gave you a break and gave you the 55, so.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Sure, okay. Then you can tell the jail you're all set, and
Okay.
good luck.
So my EER I'm good. with
Everybody
EER?
automatically gets earned early release unless I say no. I haven't said no. The only thing I said no to was early tether release, where you get out after 50% of your time.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. You guys have a nice day.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Edward.
You're welcome, Mr. Buck. Thank you, Your Honor.